So, welcome to episode 151 of Quarkus Insights. We've got an update on Infinispan and what's new with Infinispan.
And Holly, I think we found the mic. There was a problem.
Oh, whose is it? Is it mine?
Yes.
Okay.
It came out as muffled. So, but now it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes a nice change because we have, the sort of the Quarkus Insights tradition that Max has problems with his microphone. And, as a community effort, we all have to share the problems with the microphone.
Do I have problems with my microphone as well, or is it okay this time?
Yours is okay so far, but
I hope everything will be okay so far until the end.
Yeah, touch everything wooden that we can find.
Okay.
Right. I'm just going
to... So we actually do have some news if you want to kick off the news, right?
Yes. Any excuse to push the news button.
So, the big news last week was that we published a blog about going to a foundation. So on the Quarkus.io blog, we have a blog describing it. And, the blog, we spent a lot of time writing the blog to make sure everyone understood what we were doing. But do check it out and give feedback. We're looking forward. We haven't decided or even stated any foundation we would go to. We just have an interest in making sure that Quarkus has a good place to be. And there's been people asking for. There's been scenarios where customers or users have been saying, "Hey, you prefer to choose X over Y because it was not in foundation." And in general, we've been very open on how we do commits and contributions. We have I think we are close to 1,000 contributors on the core repository and several hundreds Quarkus. So it's not like the thing is not growing. But we've seen companies not asking because they thought it was only a Red Hat thing, which it's never been. It's never been an old Red Hat thing. So anyway, check out the blog about it and give feedback to it. That'll be great. We are very much listening and seeing what the feedback is, and we'll probably have a follow-up once there's more movement on this. So yeah. I'll answer this immediately. Does this mean Red Hat won't develop Quarkus anymore? No, for sure. That is not the case. This move is actually done by the BU to ensure that there's more interest in Quarkus and continue the growth of Quarkus. So this is not about Red Hat not developing Quarkus. It's actually to make sure that Quarkus continue to exist. And this is, I just want to make sure, because I've seen this in a statement, Red Hat has no product out there that is not either standardized or has a lively outside Red Hat community. So Quarkus is actually an exception in all this stuff. And the BU from Red Hat was actually interested in making, hey, we want to ensure that there is a community outside just Red Hat products that is there to give life to Quarkus. So it's not just Red Hat's thoughts and ideas that goes into it. So for Stupendous Follow 65, it's the opposite. This is actually in intent to make sure that we can continue to do so and do that with the help from others. Yeah. Okay. Cool. But anyway, feel free to ask questions, but we'll post a link in the blog here or in the show notes and take it from there.
Yeah. So I think, I guess we can switch to Katia now. And so I was going to ask you to introduce yourself, but I think you've got some slides with an introduction. So
yeah,
shall we jump right into those?
I always put on a slide with a cool photo of myself. So remote working is not good for, it's not good looking thing, right? So I put a photo that reminds me I can show myself better.
Yeah, Quarkus developed in pajamas since 2021.
That's the idea sometimes. Yeah. So I can start then.
Yep.
So I'm gonna put my first my presentation on. So yeah, welcome. Thanks for inviting me. Last time I came for the What's New in Infinispan, it was in January last year. So it's been a year and a half. Time flies. It's just like what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So many things. So just to remember who am I, so my name is Katia Aresti, and I work as a principal software engineer, and I'm at Red Hat, and I'm a core member team of the Infinispan team. So since 2017, when I joined Red Hat, and I've been a Quarkus contributor since 1.0. So during COVID times, I did Quarkus 1.0 T-shirt that I'm very proud of.
Collector's item.
Red Hatters in 2017. I'm involved in communities, especially, for example, DevOps France Call for Papers since 2015. Java champion as well since 2019 because of all this work I've been doing on communities. I joined Emmanuel Bernard and his podcast in French in last year, Les Cascodeurs, a very popular technology podcast in French, only French, where Holly came this year in an interview, speaking in French, by the way.
Well, it was sort of anglais. It was, it lowered the bar a bit for her.
Yeah, no, not at all. It was really, we got this amazing feedback from that. I've been doing LinkedIn Learning Instructor as well, and I'm really acting and improv theater passionate. So come to my improv show. That's one of the things you can hear me say when I'm not coding. So yeah, Infinispan, just as a quick reminder, it's a 100% open source Apache 2 license in-memory distributed database. So the big features of Infinispan, one of them is the interoperability, deploying this distributed cache, in-memory distributed cache, where you can use it with different language platforms. Not only it's written in Java, but you can use any other clients. There's REST API and some protocols that we implement. So I will focus on that a bit later. So it's resilient and fault tolerant with different availability strategies and distributed strategies as well of different levels of consistency of the data. It supports ACID transactions. So if you need your caching operations or your operations to be really transactional and not only eventually transactional, you can use them. The clustering processing of the data as well, thanks to this distributed architecture, and also the availability of performing full text query on the data. So one of the two things I want to highlight is that a while ago we were calling ourselves a data grid, but today we are adopting this change of saying, okay, we are in reality an in-memory distributed database as well. So we are moving on that direction more and more. And the other thing I want to highlight is that we are Apache 2 license, and we are very proud of it, that won't change. Things that can happen to other vendors. So just mentioning this for people to know.
Can I stop you there and ask what the difference is between a data grid and a database?
So back then, a data grid was supposed to be fulfilling very specific use cases. They were like, having the data and being able to scale a lot. And this is something that's a terminology coming from Oracle Coherence. That was one of the first ones doing this. But the thing is that over the time, at first, we didn't have we had transactions, but only on embedded mode, not on client-server mode. So a database, usually you have your client from one side and your server from the other side. And since we are moving more and more on this, proposing this architecture on client-server mode, supporting transactions and so on. We are really being more now an in-memory distributed database than rather what originally was supposed to be a data grid. I guess Tristan, the lead who is there from the beginning, can explain it better than me, but this is a terminology that suits better on people's minds as well, understanding what it is. And yeah, the fact is that so Infinispan can be used on embedded mode. This means that you can grab Infinispan, put it inside your application as a caching library, and then your application will be distributed, connecting all these Infinispan together. But you will get the most benefits of Infinispan if you deploy it in client-server mode. So the interoperability, for example, having different services with different languages, using a protocol to connect to the client, and having from one side your applications scaling up and down with their needs, with the technology they are implemented on, and from the other side having your data cluster, your memory scaling up and down, your needs over there, and having something that is stable and completely different from your applications or microservices or whatever you are doing. And so we are a distributed database. So we can connect, we can send the data across the network with different protocols. The hot rod protocol is the binary protocol, which is native of Infinispan. There is also Memcache. There is the REST API as well. And there is RESP protocol. RESP protocol is the protocol of Redis. Which means that it was a tech preview before. Now it's not a tech preview anymore from Infinispan 15. You can use a Redis client and still run it against Infinispan. And I will show you that later on as well. And that's Infinispan 15, right? That's Infinispan 15. Quarkus is in Infinispan 15 right now. This release has been done, the final release, the first one was a couple of months ago, 1 or 2 months ago. And we are now working on 15.1. So the Infinispan 15 continues adding and improving the actual features. So the well-known integrations and use cases. So the Hibernate second level caching, Camel integration, Spring Boot as well, of course, high availability for Wildfly, high availability for Keycloak. I mean, every Keycloak user is an Infinispan user as well. And of course, Quarkus, that is our beloved one, and that's why we are here. And so, yeah, Infinispan and Quarkus has been there from the beginning, from version 1.0 with the Infinispan client. But since then, many things have been done, even since last year. So that's the Infinispan client use case, where we improved many things that I will show you just after. We introduced a new extension. It's the Quarkus Cache extension. The Quarkus Cache extension, it's been there since a very long time, but we implemented the possibility to just move out of caffeine, which is the Quarkus Cache extension default mode, and use Infinispan instead without changing your code. So
Nice.
it's the same. So it's an SPI. It's the same thing. Then there is this Quarkus and Redis extension that we can replace the fact of using Redis by using Infinispan instead. And I will show you this as well. And finally, there is this Quarkus and langchain for J. We are part of the langchain community as well as an embedding store, and I will show you how can we use the embedding store of Infinispan with Quarkus langchain. So first, the Infinispan client updates. The first one is that we moved to ProtoStream 5. So what's ProtoStream? ProtoStream is the serialization library of Infinispan. It's the library that Infinispan uses to marshal data in Protobuf format. which means that in your Java client, the Java client code of Quarkus, you will write your Java code, but then ProtoStream marshals in Protobuf format. It's sent to the server. The server stores that in Protobuf format. And so that means that that's why we have a lot of interoperability, and there is a schema as well of the data on the server and so on. So ProtoStream 5 API comes with a new API that I will show you in a minute. And that's a very big change, as well as the fact of supporting Protobuf 3. The search API improvements as well, very big ones coming with it. Testing improvements, named connections, and yeah, some improved cross-site replication things that are very helpful. That's the not only for the Infinispan client updates on the server side, since Infinispan is part of the high availability architecture of Keycloak with active passive now. The cross-site replication functionality of Infinispan has really been tested and improved in an amazing ways for the past year with the Keycloak integration as well. And yeah, some more integration we've done. I'm not gonna highlight everything, and I'm gonna jump into a demo straight away. Yeah, unless you have any question.
I think we're good on questions so far.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm here on my. So I'm gonna run. I'm on this demo here using the Infinispan client. Back then, a year and a half ago, we had this. So I'm gonna just start Quarkus dev in dev mode. I wrote. I'm gonna start Quarkus dev in dev mode and then explain. So we had this Quarkus Insights resource with the developer's endpoint, a developer service where I can get a developer over here. This service over here, it's getting these developers with a nickname from somewhere called developers, which is, yeah, the a remote cache of Infinispan. So that's, I'm not redoing everything once and again. That's the fact that we are using the Infinispan client here with the dev services. So Infinispan client, and yeah, we do have an Infinispan running, which is Infinispan 15. And I did just a small trick. Oh, sorry, I'm moving too fast, so I'm just putting this in the other screen. I just changed on the application.properties. I said, okay, I want dev services to be on the same port every time for my tests, and I'm also using because I wanna just say for by default this is the stable server that is running, but this image here can be used if you wanna check the latest main development version of Infinispan. This image is published whenever there is a commit. So it's interesting for checking out new features or stuff that you wanna test or whatever, if you are following up the dailies of the Infinispan development. And that's, so here we are on our Infinispan console, where we have this developer cache, where there is 3 developers over here with a key and a value that's a custom type, Marshall JSON, but this is Protobuf inside. So there is this schema here of a developer. This is the Protobuf generated. That's like usual, okay? Usual Infinispan integration. So we do have this schema with the auto Protobuf schema builder, the file name that has been uploaded to the server, so we can marshal data, schema package name, insights, the developer here, it's indexed, so I can perform full text queries over it, the Protobuf factory and the fields and so on. So that's the usual things. But now so in Protobuf 5, that's one of the just gonna test that this is working well. So if I do sorry, I'm doing really, if I call http developers Tristan, I get the data from Infinispan. So the ProtoStream API now has been modernized and improved, because many people were saying, yeah, if I have this, my bin here, and I have to put my proto factory, put annotations on every field. However, sometimes I just need something really simple, or I don't wanna spend my life putting these annotations on and off again. So so now we can just remove all this and say, I'm gonna do simply putting the annotation proto on a record, and automatically this will work as well and create the proto schema. And I keep my indexed annotation as well to say this Protobuf entity will also be indexed. It will be indexed. So and here, instead of calling auto proto stream schema builder, we change it to proto schema, which is much more elegant. And so
Katia?
Yeah.
Yep. If I was using gRPC somewhere else in my application, could I reuse those annotations for the gRPC side, or are they specific to Infinispan?
This is the Infinispan integration of Protobuf. Under the hood, this is generating proto schema. So it's building a marshaller, and it's building an schema, and then it's uploading it to the server, and then it's using this it's using ProtoStream as well, the library to upload. So for now we don't have an out of the box. I mean, I don't know if someone is using out of the box ProtoStream. The ProtoStream library can be used, but we are using it inside Infinispan. It's a separate project, but I don't know if someone is using it for something else related to gRPC serialization.
Yeah,
that's an Infinispan library.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and so if this gets updated, so I reload, everything gets reloaded, and everything still works perfectly. So the only thing you need to pay attention on is that this is getting by default. So the schemas of Protobuf, they have an order here. So the order that it's done by by Infinispan by default, by this library, it's the order of the properties. So if you change the order of the properties, the order here of 1, 2, 3 will change as well, which means that the message, the Protobuf message, because there is an schema, won't be the same. So you can have issues on reading and writing data. So this is something we need to pay attention on. However, this can be completely without any trouble in many applications, where you just create another developer bin, and you clean up your data of your cache completely, and you start from the beginning. So it depends on your use case, because you can have data that gets cleaned up very often, but you can have also data that are session data, or data that's really important to keep, or to move, or to keep your schemas to be updated slowly, or paying attention to your data, to your schemas. So, but this use case of simplicity wasn't really implemented, and we can do it now. So that's one of the first things. The second one is that sometimes you don't want to use annotations at all, because maybe you just don't like them, but it can be that you are using a library or you are using a library or a Java class that you can modify yourself, and it's
or
really
your keyboard doesn't have an @ sign for some reason.
yeah, for some reason you can't. So there was a time where doing your custom marshalling wasn't very fancy in Quarkus. You needed to write your schema from the beginning. And now with ProtoStream, so let's say I do have this book over here and I don't annotate it for anything, but I can, so I can have a bin annotated with application scope, and I can create an schema programmatically. So a Protobuf schema programmatically, this is the producers. And I'm just gonna copy, so we are fast. So what I'm saying here is, okay, I wanna create a book proto with the package insights. I want a message book with a title and a description with the numbers here, and they are type of a string. So I do have this schema created with a programmatical way. This wasn't available before. And then, but that's not enough. We also need to produce a marshaller. We need to say how we write and read the data from Protobuf, from a book Protobuf message to a book message. So we need to provide this book marshaller here. So in order to do that, we are going to implement the message marshaller interface. And again, I'm going to copy paste everything. So you will see. So this was at a point a long time ago, this was something that was supposed maybe to be removed, but then we realized that was really, really useful for these use cases and dynamic use cases. So what we do is say, okay, to marshal this book, you read it from the ProtoStream reader, the title, the description, and you create my book this way. To write it to Protobuf, same thing, writing and a string, title, description. So this needs to be on the same order as well. Then just saying, okay, this is the book class, and the type name is insights book, which is the Protobuf schema we said over here, right? So once we have those two things, if I reload, I don't know if this, because this needs to get compiled, maybe it's not here yet. Let's see. Yeah, it is already here. So now I do have two schemas. One is the developer schema I had before, and now I do also have the books schemas over here. So this means I can create a cache as well as the books cache over here. And I can say, okay, I want it to be indexed as well. So I do have these books here. And I'm showing this because this is something useful. Sometimes we don't know how can I configure my caches in Infinispan, which is the JSON, YAML, or XML equivalent of the configuration. Well, you have this utility here for that. So yeah, I can create this cache over here, and then I can grab this configuration and use it somewhere else, in production if I want it, or in my application over here as well.
Can just be aware, for some reason when you move around, the microphone gets this scratching again.
Oh, yeah, it can be because I'm writing. Sorry. Is it very often, or is all the time, or maybe it's
no,
my
specifically. But now it's gone. Whatever you do now is fine.
Okay, I will try not to move a lot. Maybe it's myself that I'm moving. Anyway, so
and while you're paused as well, Katia, we've got a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if I recall correctly, the Buff CLI has mechanisms to check for backwards compatibility in case we update the Protobuf schema. Is there a similar tool with the annotated classes, or would we need to build the application and in the process generate the Protobuf definitions and check against those?
I don't know if I'm not sure I understood the question. Is it some? What is the question again? I'm not sure I understood.
I think it's that if you're using the buff CLI, you can check for backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
And so is there something, if you're using annotations, have you got some sort of similar ability to check your backwards compatibility?
I'm not. We are working on these parts now on Infinispan. I'm not really sure at what point this is covered exactly, because this is ongoing work as well on checking out the compatibility and many tools towards this part. So I don't have the straight answer. I know in the code things will fail if things can be marshaled correctly, things will fail. I mean, if you received a message that can be marshaled correctly because the code doesn't fit the message, you will get some errors on the code. It won't just happen to work because there is this schema. But I can't tell exactly at which point we are on the backward compatibility stuff on the schemas, because we are actively working on that just right now.
Cool. And we've got a related question, also from Turing85, which is, can we generate the model classes from the Protobuf definitions instead? So like, can you go in the other direction and start with them? Protobuf, get your model.
Getting the you mean getting the Protobuf schemas and then creating the code?
Yeah.
I didn't do that myself. For now, no, I don't think so. I don't think we can. It works the other way around.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
And so just to not to, I'm gonna advance a little. So one of the things we've been working as well is the fact that we can create named connections. So very quickly, I'm gonna stop here. The application, we can transform this in a named connection, which means that, for example, I can say, okay, the default name, the default dev service, I'm gonna put it enable false, but instead I'm gonna name a new one called insights. That's for development mode, okay? The fact that we can have multiple clients, this is only for showcasing that we can have multiple clients on my application connecting to different clusters with named connections. So we can have more than one. It can come insights, any other named connections, right? So I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna start Quarkus again, and I'll show you what happens. So for now, this is not running yet. So it's starting the dev service still again. Sorry, this is. So now this is failing, and you see if things are like a big crash, because it's saying, "Hi, I can. What's going on? I don't have my client developers." That's because on my developer service here, I load data on a startup to the caching, to the cache, okay, but it's unable to do it because I'm not. I'm changing I changed the connection name. It's not the default one. It's the one called insights. So and as I said, we can have multiple named connections. To fix this, I will use the Infinispan client name, and now things should work. Yeah.
Hooray.
Wee! And so that's because, but I'm going back to my normal one because we don't need them, and I'm just restarting everything. So other things we've been well, I restarted very quickly. In the past, we could add caches on a startup. on the configuration of Infinispan. This is something we can also do right now. But what we can do as well is saying, okay, let's take a chunk of, imagine I do have 10 caches and I want my Infinispan server to start with my caches. For example, the developer cache or the book cache or whatever. So now we can provide, this is the XML file, it can be YAML and JSON as well, and we can provide this on startup. So in dev services, I can say, okay, use this file as well to override the defaults of the running container. Here I just added the configuration for a cache that I wanted to be there from the beginning. But if there are other things we want to change, we can do it this way. For example, if you are using Keycloak as well as a identity provider for Infinispan, you can run the Keycloak security configuration you can provide a file that provides the security configuration for Infinispan in Keycloak, start your dev services container, and we will have this. Well, why is this? Yeah, this is for other things. That is, sorry. Because I'm changing stuff and sorry. Yeah, so we can do this. And I think I removed the service. Yeah. And yeah, another big thing that has changed is the search API. So I'm just gonna show the code over here. We have this the fact that we can run. Well, this is failing, but why is this failing now? What's going on?
It was all going
Oh,
too
it
easy
must
up
be
to this point.
okay. Yeah, sorry. Indexed developer must be indexed. I did. Oh, I know. Maybe no. This is indexed. Oh, I know what's going on. Sometimes because yeah, I don't think the schema. No, it's indexed here. This is weird. This is yeah, everything is okay. Maybe it's because I don't have the Postman. Yeah, it's running correctly. And
it seems to be something left over from
yeah,
when you changed the name of the connection.
Yeah, probably. Just let me check something quickly. Sorry. No, this is because I didn't put. Yeah, I'm gonna put a keyword because I'm running. So I'm gonna. I forgot here to say that there are so. Sorry. Just 1 second of my. Yeah, so I really need to put some stuff to be searchable.
Got it.
And in this way, I'm also saying that they can be indexed and also projectable. So now if I restart, but I need to recompile. But sometimes there are things that they are, yeah. And do I have my? I don't have anyone here. Fingers crossed, things worked.
The suspense.
Yeah. So now I do have my and here this is not working yet. Yeah, this is working again. Okay,
Hooray.
good. And if we do a search, so I'm searching for the term Tristan here. The code over here is performing a full text search on the Infinispan developer where first name, this is a full text search on the first name to match the first name, or the term to match first name or last name. And we are doing this on this query on the values here, okay? And so that's how it worked before. Just want to mention a small thing is that now we do have the query method here and also the continuous query method directly on the cache. This is something we didn't have before. And now we can also perform queries on keys and values. Which means that we can also do these queries taking into account the key and the value. I don't know what time is it because I'm getting a bit of time, but I wanna show you this. So let's say I do have this project here, which is a record. So I'm gonna say as well that they are projectable fields over here, both of them. So they are over here, and I'm gonna say that they are proto and undexed. However, this project one, what I'm gonna say is that the key entity is a developer. So the second thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this project to the schema, and then I'm going to inject a new cache called developer2 into the developer resource, developer service here. So instead of having, and this will be a cache of developer and project, I will add here the developer2, the ref data2, which is a map of developer key and project value. Okay, so I'm doing all this, and I'm also going to say that I want a cache to exist on my config cache called the second. So I'm gonna just, because I want these two caches to exist, developer1 and developer2. So I'm rerunning here, and I'm gonna write down the code for the search. So now I will do a search on keys and values. So I'm gonna retrieve a project DTO with the full name of the developer, the project, and the role this developer is in. So here on the search keys and values, taking this term over here, I will create from the developers2 a query where I say, okay, the key first name, I want the key first name, I want the key last name, I want also the project and the role from inside this project, where project is term 1 and or the key first name also applies to the term. So I can get this query here. I'm just doing setting up the two terms on the query, and finally executing the query and transforming it into a DTO of project, where as I said at the beginning, and we will see it in Infinispan. Now I do have two caches. So the developer 2 cache where the key is insights developer and the value is insights project. And now if I perform this query, if I perform this query and I call this endpoint over this other endpoint over here, not the search one, but search 2, now I do have a project DTO with Tristan Tarrant, and the project is Infinispan, and the role is lead. So we are performing search not only on values, as we did before, but mixing up what's on the key and what's on the value. And that was a very big feature and very demanded from the community. And the very last thing I wanna show on what's new on the Infinispan client extension is that, for example, here we do have this book, the book marshaller we had before that is existing on the, let's say we have this book service, a very simple book service, okay, where I inject a book, the cache books, and I do wanna test this get books by description. But I don't want to use dev services and I don't want to use an Infinispan. I want to mock this. And this is something we couldn't do before because the remote cache was a singleton bin. But now it's not a singleton bin anymore. So we can say it's an application scope bin, so it can be used with inject mock and Quarkus mock. So I'm going to say, okay, I don't want to use dev services on the test profile. And I want to test my book service, which is really simple as I saw here. And on my class over here, on the book test class, I'm going to inject my mock of the books cache using the remote annotation of Infinispan. So this is running with Quarkus test. And I inject my service. And then, because I'm using all the functionalities of mocking with Mockito and so on Infinispan, so is this working just like this? This is building. Okay, and this is why it's not working, maybe because I was so fast. I was very fast. Maybe because, yeah, unsatisfied resolution, book service. Oh, yes, I know, because the book service, yeah, I didn't annotate it with application scope.
Oh,
of course. Of course. But now that I did, so yeah, my Quarkus profile was activated and it just run the test. So if I want to say, okay, maybe, so what I do is I'm getting this remote cache. It's not Infinispan cache anymore. It's a mock that works. And that was something also very demanded by the community. And before I have a couple of things more to show that are important. I'm gonna go back to my presentation. This will be very, very fast, okay?
Okay. Well, before you do that, we've got a couple of questions.
Oh, let's yeah.
Yep. So we've got from Zoltan, what's the purpose of generated and produced proto schemas on different proto syntax version?
The thing is that before we were supporting only Protobuf 2, and now we are supporting Protobuf 3 that comes with other capabilities as well. So we support Protobuf 3. Supporting Protobuf 2 means that you can still use your beans and the marshalling, the objects that are on your Infinispan are still working with Protobuf 2. But if you want to use Protobuf 3, you can.
Got it. And so there's a follow-up question, which I guess is what you said. So I think the sort of the question here is that Proto generates Proto 2, but Schema Builder creates Proto 3, or is it more configurable than that?
We are talking about the annotations.
I think the question is maybe that the annotations make one version, but if you do it dynamically, you get another version.
I didn't change anything on the annotations. I didn't add anything, and this support. This is the new ones. You can say the syntax to be Protobuf 3, but I didn't change anything, any default or anything. So if we were doing it for Protobuf 3, it will mean that we are breaking backwards compatibility.
Got it. So you can go to Protobuf 3 by adding the extra config.
Yeah, exactly. But with the for example, with the Proto Schema API I did, it's a new API. So by default, if I don't say anything, it's Protobuf 3.
Got it.
But if I want to use Protobuf 2, I can. Now I understand why the question is being asked. The annotations today, the code that was before needs to keep on working, but with backwards compatibility.
Got it.
But yeah, when I did this on the bin here on the book marshaller, for example, on the proto schema here, there is we can say the syntax. It's Protobuf 3 or Protobuf 2. By default, it's Protobuf 3 when using this API.
So they have different defaults, but both are configurable to go in the other direction.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna, just checking there is nothing here. Okay. I'm just gonna do a couple of two small things that are very important. So I was on the, on my presentation. I don't know, where am I? Here. So the cache extension, as I said, it's available since 3.1. And the only thing that we need to change is instead of using Infinispan cache, is using Infinispan, instead of using Quarkus cache, is using the Quarkus Infinispan cache extension. So if I've taken the, so I'm gonna close everything here. I've taken the example of the Quarkus cache. This is the, so I'm going here. So this is an application that uses Quarkus cache that has these resources, the cache resource that it's a really small, it's a service, very simple service for the forecast weather with this cache result, which means that the key of this the method is using the Quarkus cache. The key is the date and the string city, and it's caching into a string. Okay. So now, if we test this, and I called, for example, here weather Paris. So it's a very slow service, as we see that forecast 3. If I recall this one, so the execution time is very short because it's in the caffeine cache. But now I'm gonna use Infinispan instead. So what I will do here is change this into Infinispan. This is getting reloaded. So all the defaults, my container is starting in another port this time, since I didn't change anything on the application resource, is empty. And so if I go to my console, sorry, admin. So I go to my Infinispan console here, and yeah, I do have this weather cache, which is empty right now. Okay, I do this call again, and I get an error straight away. No, I didn't get an error. Why? This is weird. This should have been an error, but it didn't. But I think it's because I had something that it's built from before in my local. But this is a trick. This shouldn't be working. But I can explain why it works. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the code over here. This shouldn't be. This is because I didn't clean up the stuff. Because I wanted to show the actual bug, but it's not a bug. It's the code that needs to be done briefly, because it's important for the understanding. It's weird when things work when it shouldn't, right? This is because I had the target not clean it up. Since I've been doing these demos for. Can I overpass a little the time today, or is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I don't have much after that one. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is good stuff and super
Okay.
useful. I
So,
think the solution, though, is to not practice demos, because if you don't practice demos, you don't have any state that can mess up the demo.
Yeah. So this is so now when I run this one, so yeah, I have my error, right?
Yay!
That's the error I wanted, because this is important to be noted. It's that so my Infinispan, so my weather cache is here. Sorry, it's in another port right now because I didn't change anything. So I go here to my new console. That's why setting up the port sometimes can be useful as well, not restarting all the time in a different way. So the weather cache is empty, right?
Yeah.
And why is this failing? So it's saying something important here, which is, hey, you are sending me a local date, but I don't know what it is. I don't know this in Protobuf. So what's happening here is that before we were using Caffeine, okay? So we are on our Java application. It's not a distributed cache sending stuff in a serialized format. Now we are using Protobuf. So in our service here, we are using this as a key, a double key, like this value and this value is the key, and this is the value that is put on the cache. But Protobuf doesn't know what local date time is. So I do have two options here for this kind of use cases, right? Let's say if this was a long value, a milliseconds, that will work straight away because Protobuf knows what it is. But local date time, it doesn't. So in this case, I'm gonna say, okay, I don't wanna change this code. I don't wanna change this local date time, but I do need to tell Protobuf how to marshal this. So in this case, we are gonna, these cases in general, we're gonna create an adapter. So with Protobuf, we are gonna create this local date adapter. Yeah, I need to do this reload, because otherwise it's not taking my proto stream from here. Now it is. And I need to tell this proto adapter, okay, you take a string and you parse it and you convert it this way in a local date time. But a local date time, you are gonna convert it to a string this way. That's what I needs to be done. And then obviously create a schema as well that should be uploaded that will be uploaded to the server. So here it is. Well, I call it a schema that will take this proto adapter. So now, if I reload. I'm on my console as well. I do have two schemas here. That's the schema of the local date. That's the way it knows how to do the marshalling. And now that it knows, if I retry, first time is very slow because the service was very slow, and now it's longer than in memory, but it's still very, 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 very low, right? And on my, sorry, this one, I need to close this one here. And on in my console over here, with my weather cache, I see that I have, so this key, that's a custom, a composite cache key. That's what we implemented in the extension. So Infinispan knows how to do this double, take two parameters and convert it in a composite key with Protobuf as well. And the value is this one over here. So subsequent calls are going to not call the slow method anymore, but take it from the cache. So apart from these kind of things of the adapters for Java classes to tell, hey, I need, yeah. So if you have your custom beans of Java, your Java classes that were in Caffeine, you need to use ProtoStream to adapt it and tell Infinispan how to marshal it. But beyond that, the code is the same. Your code of your application, the code of your application will remain the same. And if you use methods, as I said here, if, for example, this one was a long, you don't need to do anything. It will work straight away with the composite cache key. It's only when you have Java classes that Protobuf doesn't know how to marshal them that you need to create the schema, in this case for local datetime with the adapter. And the very, very, very last thing I want to show.
Before you go on to that, we've got well, it's sort of a question, but I think it's mostly just Sana trying to wind you up. Because Sana says he's got a helpful suggestion, which is if only we still had Hibernate OGM, people wouldn't need to deal with Protobuf files. We could just move straight on past it if you want to.
So the latest thing I wanna show. I'm coming back to my quick presentation here. Is that so yeah, you can use Infinispan as a code replacement for Redis, okay? We've been working on protocol, on the REST protocol in 14. We started the work there. In 15, we implemented a really, really big bunch of commands, all the basic commands of strings, lists, sets, sorted sets, and many more. And Infinispan also, because Redis it has these databases, but it's like you need to say it's one cache and then everything is on the same key. Well, for people who know Redis, they know what I'm talking about. In Infinispan, you have different caches, and with right now the default cache that will connect with the client is the REST cache. I'm gonna show you this in a minute, but we have cache alias functionalities that will allow a client of Redis to connect to different cache in Infinispan.
I think this is an important aspect that at least I didn't understand until recently, like a year or two ago, that Infinispan actually moved away from being just a cache I can use to actually be used from multiple different languages. Right? It's not just for Java, right? And that's a mindset I think many haven't adopted or understood yet. So that's really cool. That
so
not only it is, but also there's a protocol that like Proto that is like interchangeable and not limited just to Java.
Yeah. And so and we do also the hot rod protocol is the same. All the protocols we have. But so the latest thing that I want to show today, because I added the langchain example as well, but that's the example that just to oops, sorry. Before I do this one, I will let people use it. It's the Clément Escoffier did a blog post recently where he's using Infinispan with langchain. So go and see it. How he's doing. He did it. Sorry. Oh, I'm losing my words. So the last thing I want to show is this one. Okay. I took the Redis client here. This example of Quarkus with Redis that is on the Quarkus Quick Starts, Quick Starts as well. So this is using the Quarkus Redis client and so on. And nothing more than that. So I'm doing Maven Quarkus dev. I'm starting it, and I do have this resource over here with the increments, and an increment, it's a key and a value, and so on. And so if this is using Redis, I don't have any. If I show here, I do have a Redis running here, Redis 7. And yeah, so if I check the increments, so if I check the increments here, there is nothing, but I can create an increment, and then I can create another one, and then I can check the increments again, and I can see what's the value of the increment 2, and so on. Okay, very simple one. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna disable dev services of Redis, and instead I'm gonna provide a connection for Redis where is admin password localhost 11222, and this port, it's very, yeah, you know which one is, all right? It's the port of, by default, of Infinispan. And now I'm just gonna run the server myself. So if I check in Podman, I have Infinispan that it's running here, not with the services, I started myself. And so that's an empty Infinispan server running. And there is this RESP cache. That's the default cache of the Redis protocol. So now that I'm running, I'm gonna run my Quarkus app again, but with this configuration here. So everything is the same, but now let's see what happens when I post an increment. Is this working? Yes, this is still working. I'm gonna post another increment. Yeah, this is working. Let's see the increments here. I do have 2 increments. I can update it and so on. And if I go to the console here, yeah, in this RESP one, it's an octet stream. It's not a protobuf one because it's storing bytes. So we decided to put the default one on octet stream and not proto stream. But however, there are 2 entries, okay? And we've done 1 hit, 3 stores, 1 retrieval. There are some stuff going on. Things are stored over there. So now when I'm reading and writing the data using this example over here, for example, if I delete one, this is coming from Infinispan right now. It's not using Redis anymore. And yeah, we can see it here. that I do have an Infinispan running.
Cool.
So yeah, and that's my insights.
Cool. Thank you. There was a lot in that demo. If people
Yeah.
want the code, is it available somewhere?
Yeah, if I come back to my, thanks for letting me. So as I said, go and check the for this one. Go and check what Tristan did in his Granite RAG with Infinispan embedded in a store, and Granite. So the code is on the all the code is available on the Quarkus and Insights Infinispan demo. I will send you the links after for publishing. And yeah, some links over here, and I will send also the presentation, and that's all for me.
Cool. Oh, before you go, we've got one more question too.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, I'm presenting. So I took a bit more time, but there were many things, right?
It was a big demo. This is going to be super useful to people who are updating. So the last one is, we all know about the Redis situation, and you mentioned it earlier. Do you know if Infinispan is committed to stay compatible? I assume that's with the popular open source alternatives like KDB.
It's compatible with KDB. Sorry. I don't know what's the. I can't answer about KDB. I don't have the answer of that one. I don't have all the information. Infinispan is so big, so I don't really have the straightaway answer on this one. But we can ask to the project lead, Tristan, or the ones more on the more. On the persistent side of things that know more than me.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Well, just for those who might not know, like KDB is a fork of Redis, and Redis did their license change. And it's the same. We had the same situation with Elasticsearch, where I forgot what Amazon called their fork, free search, or whatever it's called. Open source, sorry, that's what it's called. Yeah, like I think what we are saying is that we will stay compatible as much as we reasonably can, but if one of these are deciding to go in a weird direction, then it might be tricky. So yeah, it's a bit funky, yeah. But I think Redis and Key is probably simpler than Elasticsearch, but yeah, we'll see how it will be. So.
Cool. Thank you. And lots of thank yous on the chat. So yeah, thank you for
sorry for the moments there with all the screens and all the containers and the
you were showing so much.
Things are getting cleaned up with Maven, and you're supposed to take things and get a failure, you don't get it. When you don't want the failure, you get it. It's like
yeah. I mean, most people do one demo, not like 4 demos packed into one. So
yeah,
makes sense.
There's
some crosstalk.
Many things.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much, Katia.
Yeah.
Really good. And
yeah,
thanks everybody else. Have a